Data privacy, it's kind of like, well, it used to be this little thing, right? But now it's like everywhere you turn.
Yeah, it's definitely top of mind for a lot of people these days.
It really is, and it's kind of like the Wild West out there, wouldn't you say?
It really is. New laws popping up, everyone trying to figure it out.
Exactly. And like they say, chaos can breed opportunity, especially when you're the one in the know.
Absolutely. A little knowledge goes a long way in this field.
It really does. And you're clearly someone who's doing their homework. This GDPR training from DPO Europe, that's not something you just stumble upon.
It's definitely a program that attracts those who are serious about data privacy, that's for sure.
And it's not just a beginner's course, is it? It's for people who maybe already have some experience, but.
It's like taking all those puzzle pieces of knowledge and finally putting them together into a clear picture.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't just focus on theory. They're all about practical skills. And I think that's key in this field.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's about being able to actually apply what you learn in real world situations.
Speaking of real world, one thing that stood out to me was the direct connection to the role of data protection officer.
DPOs are more in demand than ever these days.
For good reason, right? So let's dive into their 4 big reasons why someone should take this training. And honestly, as I was reading through them, I felt like they were speaking directly to you, the person who's already interested in this field.
I'd be curious to hear that. What were some of the reasons that resonated with you?
Well, for starters, they talk about how maybe you're already working in data privacy. You've got a bookshelf full of books. You've read all the articles, but
But it's all a bit scattered, like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
exactly. It's like that overflowing bookshelf we all have,
Yeah.
full of good intentions, but no real system.
And that's where a structured program like this can be a game changer because it's about taking all that knowledge you have and organizing it, creating a system.
It's about taking control of your data privacy destiny.
Exactly. And empowering you to actually use it effectively.
And let's be real, having those skills and that kind of training on your resume, imagine walking into a salary negotiation.
Talk about leverage.
Seriously, that's power. And speaking of investment, I think DPO Europe understands that being handed GDPR compliance without a roadmap can be incredibly overwhelming.
It's like they say, you can't climb a mountain in flip-flops.
Oh, that's a good one. They're not just teaching theory here, they're giving you the tools to actually tame that beast.
Right. Absolutely. It's about proactive risk management, not just reacting when something goes wrong.
And that's something they hit on point blank, which I appreciate. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like you're trying to put out those metaphorical fires with like a Dixie cup of water, right?
Yeah.
But this training is about giving you the right extinguisher.
Exactly. It's about being prepared, having the right tools and knowledge to handle whatever comes your way.
Okay, so we've established some pretty solid reasons to take data privacy seriously, but what makes this training different? What makes it stand out from the crowd? Let's get into the specifics.
One thing that really stood out to me was their emphasis on providing a trusted source of information in a world that's saturated with, well, let's just say not always accurate information.
Oh, don't even get me started on those GDPR for Dummies articles.
Right. It can be overwhelming trying to sift through it all.
This training cuts through the noise.
That's what I liked about it. It's very clear, it's concise, and they emphasize that it's constantly updated so you're not learning something that's already outdated.
Thank goodness for that, because things are changing so quickly in this field. And you know what else? They're big on practical application. They actually have you create your own record of processing activities as part of the final team project.
Which is great because it's one thing to understand the theory, but actually putting it into practice, that's where the real learning happens.
Now, I'll admit, I chuckled a little when I first saw that, but then I thought about it. And it's brilliant because you're not just learning the concept, you're building the document. You're getting your hands dirty.
And that's what makes it stick.
Exactly. It's not just memorizing definitions. You're building something you can use in the real world.
And something that will be incredibly valuable in your career.
I love that.
It's about equipping you with the skills and knowledge to be an asset in any organization.
And speaking of real-world experience, another thing that jumped out to me was their focus on collaboration.
Which is so important in this field.
It really is. Learning with others, tackling challenges together, it just makes the whole experience more engaging, don't you think?
Absolutely. You get to bounce ideas off each other, learn from different perspectives, and it's just more fun, isn't it?
It really is. It makes the whole learning process much more enjoyable.
Yeah, it really does make a difference when you have that kind of camaraderie and support.
Totally. And you know what's interesting is when you look at who this training is for, It goes way beyond just, the obvious roles.
It's not just for data protection officers anymore, right?
Exactly. So, of course, if you're a compliance officer or a lawyer, this is like essential, right?
Absolutely. GDPR is so integrated into every aspect of business now,
Yeah.
especially the legal side.
It really is. You can't separate them anymore. And for legal professionals, staying ahead of the curve on GDPR, that's got to be a top priority.
No doubt about it. And this training really digs deep into those legal precedents and practical applications.
It's like having that secret weapon, that knowledge that sets you apart. And then there are the data protection officers, the DPOs. I mean, this is like their bread and butter.
It's the foundation for everything they do.
Exactly. It's not just about knowing the rules, but really understanding how to implement them, how to create a culture of privacy.
And how to navigate those tricky situations that inevitably come up.
Right, because it's not always black and white. And here's one that I thought was interesting. InfoSec professionals.
Cybersecurity and data privacy. Two sides of the same coin these days.
Totally. And I think this training helps bridge that gap, connecting GDPR to that broader cybersecurity strategy.
It's about creating a holistic approach to data protection, which is more important than ever.
Absolutely, because it's not just about protecting data from hackers. It's about protecting it from everything. And speaking of protection, let's talk about HR for a second.
Employee data, that's a whole other ball game.
It really is, and it's so sensitive, so important to handle correctly.
And this training gives HR professionals the knowledge to do just that, to manage that data responsibly and ethically.
Because the last thing you want is a data breach involving your employees' personal information.
Absolutely not. The reputational damage alone would be devastating.
Totally. And, we can't forget about our marketing gurus out there.
In the age of data-driven marketing, GDPR is no longer optional. It's essential.
It's like the price of entry now. You have to be GDPR compliant if you want to play the game.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding fines. It's about building trust with your customers.
It's about showing them that you respect their data and their privacy, which is huge these days.
Consumers are more aware than ever before. They're demanding transparency and accountability.
They really are. And that's a good thing. It's pushing companies to do better. And you know what? This training, it's relevant for anyone, no matter where you sit in an organization.
It really is, because data privacy touches every single department.
It's everywhere. And speaking of getting into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about what's actually in this training. What are some of the things that jumped out at you when you were going through the curriculum?
One thing that I thought was really clever was their approach to teaching the history of data privacy.
See, when I first saw that, I was like, history, really? But then I got it. It's like you have to understand where we've been to understand where we are now.
Exactly. It provides that context, that foundation, that makes everything else make so much more sense.
It's like you're not just memorizing rules, you're understanding the why behind them.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
Totally. And they don't just stop at theory. They give you real-world case studies, actual court precedents, like you're getting a front-row seat to what's actually happening out there.
Which is invaluable, because it brings those concepts to life. It's not just abstract ideas anymore.
It's real people, real situations, real consequences.
Exactly. And that's what makes it stick. It's that connection to the real world.
Absolutely. And I love how they have this whole section dedicated to GDPR, like a deep dive into the structure, the related acts, legal precedents. They don't hold back.
It's comprehensive, but it's also digestible, which is important because GDPR can be a beast.
It really can be. And you know what else I thought was hilarious? They have this case study called Nightmare Letter from a Data Subject. And let me tell you, it's both funny and terrifying.
Oh, I remember that one. It's a great example of how things can go wrong, even with the best of intentions.
It really is. And it highlights the importance of being prepared for anything, because you never know what kind of curveballs life is going to throw at you.
Especially in the world of data privacy.
Right. You have to be ready for anything, and this training, it equips you with the tools and the knowledge to handle those curveballs.
It's like, they say, the best defense is a good offense.
Exactly. And speaking of being ahead of the game, they have a whole module on privacy by design, which I think is so cool.
It's the future of data privacy, building privacy into the very fabric of products and services from the ground up.
It's not just about fixing problems after the fact, it's about preventing them altogether, which is so much more effective. Knowing is half the battle.
The other half is having the tools and the confidence to actually do something with that knowledge.
Exactly. And this training, it gives you both. It's more than just checking those boxes. It's about knowing you're doing the right thing, protecting people.
Absolutely. It's about that peace of mind, knowing you've taken every step you can.
Exactly. And, it got me thinking as we were talking about all this kind of training would be so valuable, even just for me personally, just to understand my own data rights better.
Oh, 100%. I think everyone should have a basic understanding of their data rights in this day and age.
I know, right? Knowledge is power, like they say.
It really is, especially when it comes to something as important as your personal data.
We talked about how much they emphasize teamwork, and they don't let that go just because it's online. The team project component is so smart.
It's such a great way to connect with other people who are passionate about data privacy, to learn from each other's experiences, and to build those relationships that are so important in any field.
It's like you're not just getting the knowledge, you're building your network at the same time.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Totally. And speaking of things that look good on a resume, you get a nice little electronic certificate when you finish the training.
Proof that you put in the work and that you have a solid understanding of GDPR, which is highly valuable these
Oh yeah,
days.
employers love to see that kind of initiative. It shows that you're serious about professional development.
It's a great way to stand out from the crowd.
And, I know investing in yourself, especially professionally, it's a big decision. So I wanted to mention that they offer a money-back guarantee.
That's a testament to their confidence in the program. They know they're offering something truly valuable.
Right. It takes the pressure off. You can try it out, and if it's not for you, no harm, no foul.
Exactly, and that kind of transparency and flexibility is really refreshing.
It really is. And to talk it all off, they offer a student discount, which I think is fantastic.
It's great that they're making this kind of training more accessible to students who are the future of this field.
It's an investment in the future of data privacy, really.
Absolutely, because we need more people who are passionate about this stuff, who are committed to protecting people's data.
We really do. And it all comes back to that human element. It's not just about rules and regulations and technology. It's about people.
It's about protecting people's privacy, their right to control their own information.
Exactly. And that's something worth fighting for.
100%. It's a fight worth having.
It really is. Well, there you have it, folks. Another deep dive into the world of data privacy. This time with DPO Europe's GDPR Data Privacy Professional Training. Hopefully you found this as informative as I did.
I know, I learned a lot. It's always good to refresh your knowledge and to see what's new in the field.
Absolutely. And remember, knowledge is power. So keep asking questions, keep learning, keep diving deep.
And keep those data privacy fires burning, but in a good way.
Exactly. In a good way. Until next time.